average office worker receives 120 emails every single day. And how many of those emails do you think people actually open each day? Well, definitely not all of them. In fact, on average, only about 24% of sales emails are even opened. And because surveys suggest that email is still the most effective marketing channel, this just means that you have to compete against an onslaught of newsletters, brand promotions, and spam on a daily basis. So what does this mean for you if you're sending cold emails? Well, you need to stand out in the inbox if you want a fighting chance for your prospect to even open your email. Now, while it seems like you might have a low chance of getting your message read by your prospect in the first place, there are some best practices that I'm going to cover in this video that you can steal today so you can stand out in a crowded inbox. And the one thing that you need to perfect first is that first thing that any email recipient sees, the subject line. So you're going to want to create an attention-grabbing subject line, obviously. If you want to grab your prospect's attention, then your subject line is crucial. The words that you choose for your subject line matters most because most people just take a few seconds to decide whether they want to click on an email or not. So this is your big chance to pique interest from your recipient and get them to say, "Tell me more," and click open. Now, you can grab attention in a few different ways, but first, a good way to start is to include your prospect's name. Now, including your prospect's name in the subject line drastically increases the chances that they'll hit that open button. And this is just simply because they know that the email is addressed to them specifically. A good example of this would be your prospect's name x your company name or your name. You can also use their role or company name in the subject line, but at the end of the day, you just want to make sure that they know that you intentionally sent them this email. Now, this next tip is to just keep things casual. When a prospect sees an email with an overly formal subject line, they might dismiss it as mass email or spam. So instead of using something like "top companies in your industry see a 300% ROI, you can instead say, "John, can I make your job easier?" Very simple, super casual. And this actually brings me to the next point. Ask questions that will compel your prospect to reply to you or offer a solution to a problem that your prospect has. Now, if you're wondering whether you should ask a burning question or offer a compelling solution in your subject line, here's a simple framework and an example for each. If you know for sure that your prospect is struggling with a specific problem, then including the solution might grab their attention quicker. For example, if you know that your prospect sends a lot of emails and they're likely looking for a solution to get a better ROI on those efforts, then a great subject line here would be, "John, stand out in the inbox." Now, if you're unsure about their situation or if you want to get them thinking about your solution, then a burning question could be the way to go. So an example here would be, "John, struggling with open rates?" We're not sure, but if he is, he might open this. Now, whichever one you choose, just make sure to connect your subject line to a value proposition. If your subject line is compelling for your prospect, they'll want to learn more. So that's why your subject line should always be connected to your value proposition that you're going to bring up in the email. If your subject line says, "quick question," and then your question in the email body is, "do you have time for a quick call?" that's not adding any value to them. Instead, ask a question about challenges they might be facing and that your company can help solve for them. And make sure to keep your subject lines short. This is for two reasons. First, a short and snappy subject line is more likely to be read than a long question. Remember, your prospect is probably scanning for valuable information in a massive sea of garbage hitting their inbox every day. And secondly, a subject line that's a full sentence will likely be flagged as spam by your recipient's email filter. So you can avoid the spam box and make it more compelling by using just a few words. Instead of saying, "I can help you write better cold emails at insert prospect's company," a better example would be "cold email at insert your prospect's company." And make sure to do your research before crafting your subject line. Knowing a little bit about the prospect can help you craft the right subject line for the email. So take time to look your prospect up on LinkedIn or other social media platforms to see what they're up to. But just know that when it comes to your subject line, the research shows that the best performing subject lines are short and sweet. And personalization is the key to getting those clicks. Now, before we move on, if you want to dive deeper to subject lines specifically, then check out the blog post that I linked in the description of this video. You'll find 20 sales email subject lines that give you some inspiration before you write your next email subject line. Okay, now a lot of people miss this next step, but it's crucial and it only takes a few seconds to fix to help you stand out in the inbox. You can actually customize your from line in your email to let prospects know who you are before they even open the email. Now, why is this so important when you're prospecting or sending cold emails? Well, when you send a cold email, the prospect doesn't know who you are. Why should they open your email and not some other sales email, or that email from their colleague, or that email from their favorite clothing brand that promised 50% off the hottest new styles this season? Your from line could be the deciding factor that helps convince them to open your email. Are you Josh from Awesome Company, or are you Josh S., head of sales at Awesome Company? This could be the difference between getting a click and ending up in the trash bin. Okay, so now that you've written an awesome subject line and changed your from line, you're in the best position to get your prospects to click open. But what happens when they actually open your email? Well, if they open your email and just see a wall of text, they're probably deleting your email right away or hitting that back button as fast as possible. Instead, a great cold email holds the prospect's attention with minimal effort. To make that happen, the best practice here is to just keep things short and sweet. Think about how you would introduce yourself at a conference. Your prospect isn't asking for a 10-page history of your company. Instead, you just want to introduce yourself briefly, introduce your company quickly, then ask the prospect a question about their business or mention something that you notice. And also, make sure to personalize your emails. If you're doing cold email the right way, then customization is the key to getting responses from their prospects. Now, we already covered how important it is to personalize your subject lines, but don't forget about the rest of the email. Using templates can be helpful to craft your ideal framework or build desire for a large group of similar prospects, but when it comes to sending the emails, customization or personalization makes them feel that you're talking only to them and not all their competitors. So personalization can include things like adding details about their recent achievements or talking about their specific pain points. These kinds of details can make people sit up and take note. It shows that you at least took the time to understand who they are before sending an email trying to sell them something. And on that note, just make sure to speak your prospect's language. In addition to personalization, you might also want to think about the tone of your email. Always consider who you're addressing. If you know that you're emailing younger people, for example, millennials or Gen Z, then they might like to see emojis, GIFs, and other memes in that email. But if you're messaging an older prospect, they might think that those things are unprofessional, but they also might like a good pun. Now, it's also important to show your knowledge of their industry and their company. You might know a lot about the product that you're selling, but speaking about how it solves their problems in their industry will increase their trust in you. And this will just help you stand out in the sea of people using language that just doesn't resonate with them. Okay, now one of the other amazing ways to stand out in your email body is to use visuals in your email. Humans are visual creatures. We process images much faster than text, and we're absolutely obsessed with videos. In fact, one of the best prospecting tactics is to create a personalized video using a tool like Loom. This will help you show your prospect that you took the time to speak to them directly and walk them through your potential solution for them. Not only can this help you get your point across more easily, but it also helps you stand out, since not many people are taking the time to put personalized videos in their emails. But there is a word of caution for using images and videos in your email. If you're cold emailing someone, an email attachment may be flagged as suspicious or automatically get sent to spam. And emails that are too large in size with an attachment might not even reach your prospect's inbox. So to fix this, just use a tool like Loom to create your personalized video. Then click share on the video when you're finished recording it and head to the embed tab to copy the embed code, then paste it into your email. Now you'll get an eye-catching GIF with a link to play the video, and the email file size remains small. Now let's talk about the most salesy part of your cold email, and that's the call to action, or CTA. And you might be wondering, should my CTA be hard or soft? Not like that. I'll explain. A hard CTA is a strong ask. It might be something like, book a demo, or can we schedule a 10-minute call? Now, a soft CTA, on the other hand, just asks a little bit less of your prospect. You might ask them to check out that video that you added in the email or read a white paper that you linked in the email. But which one should you choose when you're sending cold emails? Generally, a soft CTA will get a higher response rate, and this is especially true if the ask is easy to complete. Again, like watch this video. A hard ask can feel a little bit too demanding or pushy, especially if this is the first time the prospect has ever heard from you. But that said, a hard CTA can sometimes get the prospect to act more decisively and quickly. And just remember, most prospects are busy and they prefer the blunt, can we call you type of CTA. But of course, knowing your prospect in advance will help you choose the approach that fits them best. Again, just going back to that research phase. Okay, next let's talk about follow-up emails without being spammy. If your prospect doesn't reply to you within a few days, you probably want to start a follow-up campaign to stay top of mind. Now, there's a way to follow up without being spammy and still stand out in the inbox. Of course, you should use sales tools to keep track of when you contacted your prospects last and when it's time to reach out to them again. And trust me, this persistence will pay off. Nearly half of all salespeople just give up after one email, but it can take several no's before a prospect ever says yes. Or just remember what I said at the beginning of this video. The average office worker receives 120 emails every single day. So they might just not have checked their email when you first sent your message, and then a whole new flood of emails came in and took over their inbox. So they might have honestly just not seen your email. So sending follow-ups will keep you top of mind and top of inbox. And your persistence here can actually help you stand out if you're not being annoying or spamming them. So again, use those tools to automatically space out your messages and just don't overwhelm your prospects with daily messages. But standing out in the email inbox is just one way to get your message to your prospect. In fact, I made another video on the 3 prospecting tactics that every sales professional should know. So you can check out that video by clicking here or go down to the link in the description to watch that video. And make sure to subscribe to our channel if you found this video valuable and you want more videos on sales and prospecting tips. Have a magical day, and I'll see you in the next video.